Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome Ms. Emily Walton.
You know, when I hear all that, I realize no wonder I'm so tired sometimes. Not today. I am so proud to graduate from this university with you today. I'm also honored and humbled to be up here speaking on behalf of our graduating class. Being from this university means something to other people. I think sometimes in our bubble, in this beautiful city and on this beautiful campus, we forget about this. But I was reminded of it last year when I traveled to Washington, D.C. with some fellow students to a conference for our student association. When we wore our Bronco gear, people noticed, and I had a guy come up to me and ask if our turf was really blue. And one night we were out walking around in D.C., and we heard some people across the street shout, "Boise!" Right. So what do you think we said back? State! Thank you. And although many people can't distinguish Idaho from Iowa, they know Boise State University. While people know us by these stories and the games that happen on our turf, we are here today as representatives of what happens in our academic buildings. We're defined by the stories that we tell ourselves and each other. And I'm here to tell a story of what we've experienced and learned together while being here at our university. I grew up in the middle of a potato farm in Declo, Idaho. It's too early to cry. Driving tractors and moving hand lines. If you don't know what hand lines are, you should get out of Boise and ask a farmer. They can tell you. I was homeschooled, and I just never really saw myself as a person who had the ability or who was smart enough to go to college. Then in the summer of 2004, I ended up teaching English for a few weeks in Poland. And while we were there, we visited Jagiellonian University. It was founded in 1364. It's one of the oldest universities in the world. Their motto is, "Let reason prevail over force." So I remember sitting there in this beautiful old courtyard, and I realized that universities take what we humans have learned about the world and ourselves, and then they preserve it. And then they condense it down to the most crucial pieces and pass it on to the next generation. So this idea really captured my imagination, and it eventually led me to getting my GED, and I hesitantly enrolled here at Boise State. Not because of the institution, but because I wasn't sure I could do it. In the beginning, I was on provisional academic status until I could prove myself, and that took time and hours of studying. And as I made progress in the classroom, I found that college isn't really about being smart, it's about allowing yourself to learn and working hard. And my education here has led to a life full of opportunities I never imagined existed for me. And we all have stories like this. And even if your story isn't just like mine, I know that you can relate to it. Because every student here has had something to overcome to get to this moment. And even if you're someone who's always known you would go to college, you've made a similar sacrifice and investment in yourself. And now, here today, we are students who haven't let limited resources, time, previous failure, and cultural barriers stop us from graduating. Let's clap for that. And all of the people in this room are here because we want to honor you and recognize you for your perseverance and hard work. Because of the sacrifices we've made to be here, we've known this enormous privilege of sitting in a classroom and learning. And we know that because so many of us will never get that opportunity, we have a responsibility that comes with it. I think one of these responsibilities is to participate in this discussion that our country is having about the purpose of higher education. As a student in linguistics, I've noticed a shift in the way that our society talks about higher education, and much of it centers around an idea that education is just a practical matter. Implied in some of the things we say about education is this message that if your degree isn't going to make you a lot of money right after graduation, then you shouldn't be pursuing it. Now, I agree we all need jobs, but as a society, I think sometimes we've far too closely correlated education with job training. And somehow, we've confused an outcome with a purpose. The recent recession scared some of us into just wanting an education for a job. But I think this recession also taught us that money without morality is a dangerous thing. It showed us that power without a code of conduct could hurt our entire country and the world. The problems facing us, whether it's our economy or not, are just too broad and too deep for applicants alone. And thinking about our education as merely a stepping stone to getting a job is not going to cure what ails us. To lead the world, we need a vision, not just job training. Because we aren't just workers at jobs. We're innovators, we're mothers and fathers, we're citizens, we're decision makers, we're voters, we're partners. And we need an education that helps us live better lives in this whole breadth of human experience. This is why we need to be careful when looking at education only in terms of economic input and output, because we don't live our lives that way. It also doesn't make economic sense to just think of education as job training. In 10 years, jobs will exist that we just don't know about right now. And it's really because our jobs will be so different and because the world is changing rapidly that we need this broad education in order to compete. We also need this broad education because we're confronted daily with thousands of pieces of information. And in this environment of information overload, it can be hard to discern what's important and what isn't. We can Google anything we want to know, but as I heard on Boise State Public Radio the other day, the internet is a library without the benefit of a librarian. More than ever, we need to know how to analyze this information critically, and we need to do this work together. Our education is a personal experience, and it causes us to change our mind in crucial ways. And that's usually a messy process because it's gained through interaction with each other. This personal interaction that we have as we become educated has critical implications for our society. In a classroom, if we disagree with someone, we can't hold a press conference denouncing them, nor can we just unfriend them online. Instead, we must do this hard work of civil discourse. And I've learned this at our university through my experiences with you. I remember watching with amazement as students from the Honors College debated a controversial issue in their weekly Friday forum. The debate was civil, but they were still able to maintain rigor with their arguments and disagree. And they did all of this without offending each other. I remember leaving that event and thinking, does civil discourse happen like this anywhere else? In my experience, it's pretty hard to come by. And this idea of civil discourse is something that the Polish people were thinking when they chose their motto, let reason prevail over force. They didn't build Jagiellonian University just to get more jobs. They built it to push humanity forward. Think about what existed in 1364 and the commitment that the Polish people must have had to make to keep that open. At one point, their queen sold all of her jewelry to keep it going. And amazingly, it's still operating. With over 50,000 students attending, this longevity suggests they may have been onto something. As a pragmatic Western woman who grew up working very hard, I know the debates that our culture has around this issue. Here's one: work must be done, and sitting around philosophizing doesn't get us anywhere. I'm not arguing that we shouldn't know how to work, but we need working and philosophizing. Because if we don't know how to assess the world around us and understand how it fits into our past and where our world is going, we will understand how our work and our lives fit into it. And this is hard, practical work. And with our world changing so rapidly, more than ever, we need to be able to see and think clearly about what's happening. And the work that we need is out there, but it's not work that's just one job or one career. Instead, it's our life's work. We need to rethink the value proposition for higher education, and we need to remind our society of this value of an education that can span a lifetime, that consists of important things that humanity has learned about itself and our planet. And it's not up to just our faculty and our administrators behind me to preserve this. They do that on a daily basis. It's up to us, the future teachers, engineers, writers, nurses, scientists, and the dozens of different degrees that we're conferring here today. Like 700 years of graduates of Jagiellonian University who preserved what we've learned about the world, we'll apply it anew to our lives with the goal of pushing humanity forward. Thank you, Boise State University, for being the place where students like us can show up, pursue an education that prepares us for work and life. Thank you to our families, faculty, and friends who made it possible for us to realize this day. Congratulations, graduates.